She lay in the hospital bed in her final days of life with family and friends surrounding her. She was young. So very young, maybe just 18 or 19 years of age. She lay there and she said little. Her forlorn, sunken eyes suggested that she'd maybe been there for a year, maybe more. She wasn't there for very long now, just a short time. It was clear. I could see in her eyes how painful her life had been. I passed her in the hallway as she lay in her final minutes of life. At the time, I was connected to a machine to monitor my heart. She was connected to no machine. Her time with machines had come and gone. Instead, she was connected to family, to friends, to those people in that room in her final minutes of life. Alongside her, there with their joy, there with their sadness. In these final moments, these final minutes of her life, people cried and hugged each other. She passed away just meters from me. This young girl, saying goodbye with strength and love to the tens of people in her room sharing in her final breath. When she was gone, when her final breath was taken, the wailing began. The tears of sadness took over. The joy of pain no more was met with sadness of eternal pain. It was met with a sadness at the loss of love. My name is Dr. Michael. This is the 13 Elephants podcast. The 13 Elephants podcast is available on all premium podcast sites and on YouTube. 13 Elephants is about you, about me. It's about sharing the lived experience of the third space, a space where ideas are shared and related, normalized and revisited, where the story of me is the story of you, where academia and personal life experiences are no longer separate, but rather are enmeshed in the story of us, the story of hope, the story of our dreams. I thank you to all of you. Thank you all for sharing with me your stories. Thank you for sharing with me how much you enjoy the 13 Elephants podcast. This is me. This is us. This is our journey. There is a sense of joy in death, yet the journey to this end is one of pain, one of sadness. Recently, I spent some time in the resuscitation unit of an emergency hospital, where I was on a heart machine and monitored for 4 days, a scary time for those who loved me, a more grounding time for me. The not knowing of what was going to happen to me as we moved into spaces of illness, both past and present and potential future, was concerning for all of us. It's a concerning part for most. But for the onlookers, our loved ones, the pain they experience as they watch a member of their family, a loved one, suffer is immense, is lasting. I don't know the name of the young girl that passed away in the hospital as I walked by her from time to time during my time in emergency. I did know her sadness, though. It was hard for those close to her to see the young girl alone in her room, slowly dying, and even more difficult for the onlookers who were not part of the family to watch. To see the family and their tears as they held their strength for this young girl in the room, then crumbled in tears as they departed the room for respite for Sal. To gain just a little moment, a little movement away from the sadness of the inevitable. For me, pain is part of me. Seeing others in pain or seeing loss does not appear to affect me as it does others. I see hope in pain. I see joy in pain. I see joy that I may offer some help to alleviate the despair in this space for others. The space I find myself in. In the third space of realization that I too have pain. And when another person experiences pain, the efforts in me align with caring for others. And this doesn't occur in an empath manner. It emerges as a third space understanding of being in a place of despair and knowing that the shared experience helps us all, even when this experience is maybe ones of sadness, loss, death, loss from something that once was, that will no longer ever be again. And this doesn't have to be death. Sometimes it's the loss of the experience, is that the death of the experience is realized. For the young girl in her last breath of life, the experience of that girl to her family members and friends presents at those final moments, presents as a loss, as a departure from what once was to what is now the knowledge of the experience of grief itself. There is supposed to be some sense of joy as we move from loss of experience once known to an unfamiliar place, of experiences with other people that mimic what was once gone with those that were once close to us, where we now move to a space of understanding that what was cannot last forever as the experience we want it to be. It can't be the fever experience. Instead, we learn the middle ground of the experience is what stays with us, the third space understanding that when we find ourselves in similar spaces to ones we once held so dear to our hearts, when that goes, we find that we have a reminder of that experience in the good. And we have a reminder of that experience of how good goes away, how it leaves us in death, in departure, in estrangement. The skill here is to acknowledge pain as a grief and growth, yet to lament the loss of experience as the loss of joy. And then to recapture the joy in the new, and cherish the new from what we understand was once old. We relocate our understanding of loss, and we renegotiate the actors involved, and we position ourselves in the familiar space of joy with the already known loss that once was, with the sadness that once was. For some, this process may be viewed as karmic. For others, this process may be seen as validation that one was engaged in experiences that were joyful, then turned somber. For the young girl laying on her last bed, the tears forming in the eyes of the onlookers, the strangers walking by wondering what was going on, yet knowing that there was loss nearby, her thoughts remain her thoughts, and we will never know what they are. What we do know is how we feel about the young girl laying there, submitting herself to being gone. We do know how the onlookers feel because we are the onlookers. We choose what we feel and what we want to believe in. I wonder sometimes what the experiences of life mean to me. And then I wonder what those experiences might mean to those people involved in my story. What they thought of as I thought of them in the moment of occurrence. I wonder if their retelling of the story is like mine. And I doubt it ever is. I wonder as I watch the dying young girl, does she see me? Does she see the person I am and the feelings I have about what is happening to her? I doubt she does. Does anyone really understand what another person is thinking at any one time? I doubt. The young girl died. I didn't know her name. But there were people there who did. The close family onlookers cried and hugged each other in the final moments. The distant, unfamiliar to family onlookers dipped their heads and walked by. Her last breath was noticeable, not forced. It was sad and quiet. A few hours later, the young girl was moved out of the room. A few hours more, and a young boy appeared in the same room the girl had just quietly departed. The onlookers cried as they waited for the young boy to take his last breath. I walked by, still connected to the heart monitor, still in my gown, my head down, my sadness for the future lost, kept still inside of me. My name is Dr. Michael. This is the 13 Elephants podcast. Come along for the ride.